In the early 2000s, fresh out of film school, I found myself stuck. Filmmaking in Singapore was almost non-existent, and I had no clear path forward. My lifeline became the local public library, which had an extensive DVD section, a treasure trove of films from around the world. One day, I stumbled upon Boyfriends and Girlfriends by Rohmer. The cover was unassuming, a boy and a girl in a simple outdoor setting, suggesting the kind of slice-of-life story I've always loved. I brought it home, expecting a pleasant distraction. What I got was something entirely different. By the end of the film, I was laughing, clapping, and overwhelmed with a high no other film had ever given me before. That moment changed everything. In this essay, I'll share why this quiet, unassuming film shook me to my core and how it reshaped my approach to filmmaking. The film opens with casual, unadorned shots of Cergy-Pontoise, a contemporary urban district in France. The visuals are ordinary, mundane even. No elaborate set design, no glossy color grading, just natural light and authentic locations. I felt as if Rohmer had simply set up his camera wherever he happened to be. This simplicity created a startling effect. The unadorned visuals acted like a blank canvas, where the actors' actions and dialogue painted the drama. At first, it reminded me of a corporate video, pedestrian and functional, almost as if its purpose was simply to orient me before moving on. But that was precisely the genius of it. By stripping away unnecessary aesthetic flourishes, Rohmer trusted me to find meaning in the ordinary. Then I noticed something else. In outdoor scenes, passers-by would glance curiously at the camera. It was clear Rohmer and his crew were stealing shots in public spaces, guerrilla style. These moments didn't detract from the film. Instead, they gave it an unpolished charm, a sense that life itself was unfolding before us. Rohmer's visuals are naturalistic and unadorned, but they reminded me of Bertolt Brecht's theory of alienation. Brecht broke the illusion of theatre to force the audience to think critically, and Rohmer's imperfections, the glancing passers-by, raw soundscapes, achieve a similar effect. By rejecting cinematic polish, Rohmer draws you closer to the truth of the moment, encouraging observation rather than passive consumption. Rohmer's minimalist aesthetic didn't stop with the visuals. His sound design was equally unpolished, with outdoor scenes filled with raw, location audio. No studio redubbing, no polished score. The soundtrack was the hum of real life.
Tu as un amoureux?
Non, pas pour le moment. Ni ici, ni à Paris, ni en province. Je viens de la province.
Far from being a distraction, this authenticity pulled me deeper into the story. Without perfectly recorded audio or sweeping music, there was no manipulation. Instead, we heard the natural sounds of echoing halls, rustling leaves, and distant chatter. For a young filmmaker, this was liberating. A film didn't need a big budget or flashy production to move people. Smart dialogue, natural performances, and authenticity were enough. These weren't excuses for shoddy work. They were deliberate rejections of artificiality in favor of intimacy. This unpolished approach wasn't about cutting corners. It was about stripping away anything unnecessary. It wasn't trying to overwhelm the viewer with perfection. Instead, it trusted the audience to meet the film halfway. While Rohmer's minimalism created the framework, it's his characters who brought the story to life. Blanche, the protagonist of Boyfriends and Girlfriends, is shy, introverted, and deeply relatable. She eats lunch alone, fumbles at parties, and is awkward around her crush. As a film school graduate, I'd been taught that protagonists need strong goals and bold motivations. Revenge, greed, lust for power. Blanche, by contrast, was ordinary, quiet, hesitant, like so many people we know, or even parts of ourselves if we're honest. That an entire film would spend 100 minutes observing someone who hesitates, second-guesses herself, and occasionally retreats from the world fascinated me. Most protagonists I'd seen up to that point charged headlong towards their goals, as if the story would collapse without their relentless drive. Blanche, by comparison, moved at her own pace, curious, unsure, and all the more authentic for it. Watching her navigate misunderstandings, form friendships, and wrestle with her emotions felt so true to life that I forgot I was watching a performance. For someone like me, who often felt out of place, Blanche's journey felt like an instruction manual for introverts. Don't chase someone who doesn't notice you. Follow the connection that feels natural, and most importantly, be honest about how you feel. The final twist in Girlfriends and Boyfriends hit me like a lightning bolt. After a series of awkward missteps, Blanche finds love, not by defeating an antagonist or achieving personal growth, but by stumbling into it, helped along by friends and coincidence. Watching Blanche stumble into love felt like watching a truth I hadn't fully understood until that moment. Sometimes, life gives us what we need when we least expect it. I've experienced it myself, those rare moments when things align effortlessly, as if fate has taken the reins. In those moments, you realize it's not about how hard you try or how perfect you are. It's about timing, connection, and just letting things flow. Blanche's journey isn't one of grand transformation. It's one of small, quiet victories. She hesitates, fumbles, and stumbles her way forward. So when fate finally aligned in her favor, it wasn't just her victory. It felt like ours. It felt like a reminder that even in our most awkward and unsure moments, life has a way of surprising us with something beautiful. Rohmer's quiet film became a loud turning point for me, changing how I saw cinema and my place in it. Boyfriends and Girlfriends gave me something invaluable: confidence. It reminded me that a film doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. Stories about ordinary people told with honesty can leave an extraordinary impact. For me, Rohmer wasn't just a filmmaker. He was a mentor. He didn't inspire envy, he inspired action. And for that, I'll always be grateful. When I stumbled upon Boyfriends and Girlfriends in that library all those years ago, I had no idea it would become my guide. It taught me that storytelling doesn't need spectacle to resonate. It needs honesty. And that honesty became the foundation for my own filmmaking journey. I hope this essay inspires you to watch the film. Who knows? It might just change the way you make films or the way you watch them, like it did for me.